Hello students, I Rahul welcome you to my YouTube channel Technotech Vidya. Today I have brought a very important topic for you because it is related to the Indian education system. The topic is National Education Policy 2020. So if you want to understand the concept of the National Education Policy 2020, then you have to watch complete video without skipping a single second of it. Before that, I request you to subscribe my channel. So let's move to the topic. So, as we all acquainted with the current education policy, still we will have a look on the previous education policy to compare it with the new education policy of 2020. Here I have prepared some outlines for the policy which we will going to cover in this video. First one is introduction of the National Education Policy. Second one is background of the National Education Policy. Next is vision of the National Education Policy. Next is important feature of the National Education Policy. Then stages of the National Education Policy. After that, gross enrollment ratio in different countries. Then, percentage of GDP invested for the education in different countries. Next will be new architecture of the higher education. Next will be 4-year graduation program. Next is post graduation, 1 or 2 years. Next is implementation of National Education Policy. After that, advantage and disadvantage of the National Education Policy. Last but not the least will be the conclusion of the National Education Policy. So, first of all, let us see the introduction of the National Education Policy. Till the date, national education has been suffering with the Russian roulette examination system. I would like to make you understand what is Russian roulette examination system. It is a game, kind of. In fact, I should say Russian roulette is a lethal game in which you take a revolver, fill one of its slot with a bullet, spin the cylinder and pulls the trigger, aiming your own head. The chances of survival is 5 out of 6. Unfortunately, our examination system has become like this for ages, which means you will pass anyhow, you may even get decent grades also, without even knowing the importance and having the clarity in that particular subject. We are just expected to cram and memorize the concept of the subject and we are ready to sit in the examination. Means we are just educating ourselves, we are not learning anything. I think we are the lucky enough to get through the examinations, but there is no guarantee that you will be placed in the best top companies or job until or unless you have your close relative in that particular company. In that case, where will you go with your high grades or good marks? To enhance the quality of the system, the national education system is amended. The Union Cabinet launched a policy on 29th of July 2020 to revise the decade-old education policy. A panel of 9 members was formed, headed by former ISRO chief named Krishna Swamy Kasturi Rangan. Now let's see the background of the national education policy. Since the country's independence in the 1947, Indian government sponsored many programs to address the problem of the illiteracy of India. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, India's first education minister, made a uniform education system throughout the country. He established University Education Commission in 1948-49, then Secondary Education Commission in 1952-53, and finally University Grant Commission and Kothari Commission in 1964-66. to modernize the education system of the India. The concept of IIT and NCRT was introduced by the Nehru government. Based on the report of Kothari Commission, the government of Indira Gandhi announced the first education policy called National Education Policy 1968, in which the education of the children up to age of 14 was compulsory, as mentioned in the Indian Constitution also. After that, the government of Rajiv Gandhi introduced the second education policy called National Education Policy 1986, emphasizing on the removal of disparity and to provide the equal education opportunity to all the community like Indian women's, Indian scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. They started a operation called Black Board and also gave scholarship to the students of poor classes. After that, the 1986 National Education Policy was modified in 1992 by the PV Narasimha Rao government. They started the common entrance examination on all India basis for admission in the professional and technical programs like IIT JEE and AIEEE, etc. But the amendment was not big enough, so it was not considered. And finally, in 2020, Modi government has introduced a new education policy followed by a number of public consultation. Now let us see the vision of the National Education Policy. The National Education Policy 2020 envision an Indian-centric education system to transform the quality and quantity of research in India. Policy envision the establishment of the National Research Foundation, which will help to provide the high quality education to the people of India. Now let us see the important feature of the National Education Policy. In the foundation of the National Education Policy, there are some pillars of National Education Policy that are access, equity, quality, affordability and accountability. We had a department called Ministry of Human Resources and Development, which is now Ministry of Education after the formation of new education policy. It also converted the existing academic structure into a new structure. The existing structure is 10 plus 2 system, which is converted to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system. What was the 10 plus 2 system? In 10 plus 2 system, government was focusing on your study of 12 years from class 1st to class 12th. After that, you had to go to a university to complete your education. As you always tell to anyone that you have passed your 12th from UP board, UA board or any particular board, but you don't say that you have completed your graduation from a particular board because you have to complete it from a university. In new education policy, the government will focus on your study of 15 years. This will not increase the time of your study because in the previous education system, your study was commencing at the age of 6. But in new education policy, the age group of 3 to 6 years is also covered. The system is modified to abolish the nature of student of escaping the school or bunking the classes. Now, let's see the stages of National Education Policy. First stage of National Education Policy is 5 year of foundation stage. It is further classified in which there are 3 years of pre-primary school and 2 years of first and second class. As we all know that the children like to play game all the time. They want to learn new thing. But if we are going to impose something on the children, they are not going to accept the compulsion. So in this new education policy, there is a education like playing games and no examination system will be there. in the foundation stage. Next is 3 year of preparatory stage, which is further classified into class 3rd to class 5th, means it will cover class 3rd, class 4th and class 5th. In this period, the student will take part in the different activity and simultaneously the teacher will make them a test with the study also. There is no compulsion of English medium. Student can study the subject in their regional language. It does not mean that the English medium will not be there any longer. One more thing, a student have to learn a national language or a mother tongue in this particular period. Next is 3 year of middle stage. It will cover class 6th to class 8th. In this period, the student will learn computer coding. Some vocational courses will be the part of the syllabus. In vocational courses, there will be opportunities for the girls and boys to learn different skills, and rest subject will be as it is, like mathematics, science and arts. Further, one Indian language will be the part of the syllabus also. It can be Hindi or Sanskrit. Now, final stage of the national education policy is 4 year of secondary education. Now, this is the turning point of the new education policy. It will start from the class 9th to class 12th. Student will see the semester system in this period, means a student have to give 8 examination in the period of 4 year. In the first half of the year, the student have to give an examination in objectives, and in the second half, the student will give a subjective examination. And now, there is no stream system like in the previous education policy. There was a science side, art side, commerce side, etc. Student can take multiple subjects simultaneously. If a student is fond of mathematics, then he can also take biology, history, geography and etc. One more thing is introduced, that is critical thinking. In the critical thinking, the student will learn how to take decision on discussing a particular topic, and also a foreign language will be the part of the syllabus. A single language of China is not included in that syllabus. Next is gross enrollment ratio in different countries. Now, here is a comparison of gross enrollment ratio of different countries. As we can see that the data is decreasing consistently in case of India from primary to higher education, while in other countries it is comparatively better. However, in the last decade, the percentage of the gross enrollment ratio is increased, but it is not worth noting in the education system for the path of growing literacy rate. Now, let us see the percentage of GDP invested for the education in different countries. This picture is showing some countries which are investing the percentage of GDP for the research and innovation. We are spending only 0.7% of whole GDP, while the data of Israel is showing how much it is spending on research and innovation. That is why they are very much ahead in the field of technology and research. And recently, you have already heard that Palestine attacked on the Israel, but not even a single attack was successful because of the advancement of the technology of Israel. Now, the architecture of higher education. More than 800 universities and 40,000 of colleges will be considered into 15,000 of well-resourced institutions. Let's move further. 4-year graduation. There will be 4 years for graduation. No compulsion to complete the whole 4 years. If you complete only 1 year of your graduation, you will get a certificate of your graduation for a single year. And if you will complete 2 years of your graduation, then you will also get a diploma of the graduation. And finally, if you complete minimum 3 year of your graduation, then you will get a degree of the graduation. After that, you can apply for different jobs and entrance examinations. And now, if you want to go for further study and you will complete your fourth year of graduation, then you will get a research certificate of graduation. Now, there is a point re entry. It is the added advantage of the new education policy, as we take admission to complete the graduation, but if due to some circumstances you had to leave your study after 1 year, we already got the certificate of 1 year, and now after few years we want to complete the 3 or 4 year of graduation, then it will be resumed from the second year onward. Now, post graduation of 1 or 2 year, if you have completed 3 year of graduation, then you have to complete your 2 year of post graduation. And if you have got research certificate of graduation in 4 year, then post graduation will be of 1 year for you. Hence, we can say that there is no partiality for the students who have completed their graduation of 3 year or 4 year. Further, there is no MPhil degree in the new education policy, and PhD will be of 4 year. Now let us see the implementation of national education policy. As we have already mentioned that amendment in the education policy is done after more than 3 decades. So the implementation of the national education policy will be quite challenging. So the policy is made to implement in next 20 years. It will be implemented in phased manner by making the task list, and a very good care is being taken to make this implementation plan realistic. States and union territories are also making their own task forces to implement the national education policy in their respective jurisdictions. Now let us see the advantages of the national education policy. The first advantage is the percentage of GDP invested for the education policy is increased, which is high enough to make big change. Second one is the school fee will be decided by the central government, so that a student of rich or poor class can take admission in any school. Third is vocational subjects are introduced, which is very good for Indian education. Next is, as our exam system is mark oriented, now the marks is not only given by the teacher but also by the friend of the student, and on the basis of the self assessment of the student himself. Next is, the student will be able to take admission in the top 50 university of the world, and there will be different department like deciding syllabus, salaries for the teachers, and etc. There will be training program for the teachers also to enhance the skill of teaching of a teacher. Now the disadvantages. The disadvantage consists of English is not mandatory in the new education system, and we know that it is the only language which helps the student to get job in the foreign countries. Second one is whole system will be centralized. There will be no interruption of the states. Next disadvantage is the implementation in the rural area will be challenging due to the lack of technological infrastructure and qualified teachers. Finally, let us see the conclusion. As education system is varying from generation to generation, this is fetching the degree only, and creating unemployment. After the implementation of this policy, the India will become a global knowledge superpower. So students, if you have understood the concept of new education policy 2020 and you have liked my video also, then don't forget to like and share the video. I will meet you in the next video with a different topic. Till then, goodbye.